At the beginning of the film, the guy says he didn't know how bad things were between him and Sophie until they met Henry. The couple arrive at the robot factory, where James convinces the girl that they are doing everything right, the action transferred to 3 months ago. Sophie argues that the subconscious speaks to them through dreams. The girl wants to move an old, shabby sofa into a luxury flat, which confuses James a little. However, the guy still agrees. Sophie insists that it is necessary to thank the butler for his help with the sofa, and therefore invites him to dinner. James is kissing with a girl when his phone suddenly rings. He picks up the phone and learns some bad news. James's father has died and passed his company on to his son. Sophie moves with her boyfriend into a big mansion for a while, but she is not happy with this life. The next day, James wants to go to work early. Sophie asks him to stay and promises to cook a delicious breakfast, but he says that it's his first day at his company and he has to look good in the eyes of the employees. James also thanks the girl for the book she gave him. Going down to the kitchen, Sophie sees that the guy forgot her present. The girl is also unpleasantly surprised by the presence of servants in the house. Sophie explains that she is used to a simpler life and asks the staff to rest. The girl also talks to Rosa and asks her what kind of life she dreams of. In the evening, Sophie waits for her boyfriend in bed. The girl tells him that she fired all the servants and gave them their salaries for 2 years. Sophie thinks that this is not a problem because they are very rich. Much more important for her is that Rosa will see her son after 14 years. A dumbfounded James hugs the girl and says that everything is fine. The next day, he goes to a meeting where he says that he would like to send the company's forces to protect the environment. However, the employees gently hint that it would be difficult to make the firm prosper in this way. The meeting is also interrupted by a call from Sophie, who can't get her lawnmower started. An annoyed James promises to take a look at it in the evening. The guy can't get the job done and is subconsciously angry at Sophie for making life in a large house with an allotment more difficult by getting rid of the servants. The next day, James talks to an employee of the company and says that he would like to make real decisions, not just get paid. The guy also shares with the manager his worries about Sophie. It seems to James that the girl sacked the servants on purpose to make the new life in the house unbearable, and thus return to the old realities. The manager tells him that 6 months ago, there was a closed presentation of the new robot factory. Together with the girl, James goes there. Sophie questions one of the robots named Jessica. She replies that her purpose is to serve her owners, and if they are satisfied, so is she too. Julian tells her that all the models have the same set of characteristics and differ only in appearance. Sophie decides to talk to the guy and tells him that she will be burdened by the presence of another girl in the house, especially since she will be prettier and more interesting than her. James tries to convince the girl that there is no reason for jealousy. However, Sophie continues to say that she feels that way and suggests getting a man robot. Julian demonstrates Henry's capabilities and obedience. A special station is set up in the house to recharge the robot. Julian informs them that if they have any problems with Henry, they can turn to him. In the morning, Sophie goes to the kitchen and sees the robot cooking breakfast. The girl returns to James in the bedroom and complains that she feels weird asking Henry for something. The guy reminds her with a sigh that they don't have a human in the house, but a robot that is created to follow orders. If Sophie wants to make her own breakfast, she can just tell Henry that. The girl observes the robot mow the grass, following the items on the to-do list. Going downstairs, Sophie finds breakfast and a note. In it, Henry explains that he didn't want the food to spoil. In the afternoon, Sophie gets out of the shower and, frightened, wraps herself in a dressing gown, noticing a robot in the room. The girl calls James at work again and complains that she now feels uncomfortable. The guy reminds her again that they have a robot in the house and he can't ogle Sophie or desire her. The girl still continues to panic though and asks James to come back. The guy says he's working and can't just leave his business. Sophie hangs up the phone, resentfully. The board of directors says James's new strategy has been a failure, and they need to change something. Upon returning home, the guy decides to take Henry off his charger to play racquetball with him. The robot notices that James is tense. During the game, the conversation turns to God. Henry thinks he understands his purpose because he knows who created him and why. James shares his experiences and existential crisis with the robot. In the morning, the boy tells Sophie that Henry is very comfortable to talk to because he is ready to listen to any of your thoughts. In the afternoon, the girl, together with the robot, starts to rework her old sofa and tells him that it symbolizes her past dreams. At dinner, James tells her that his mother and his father's friends are coming to visit them on the weekend. Sophie is upset, as she had already planned to have dinner with him alone together. The girl is also worried that there are still some things in the house that have not been sorted out. James offers to entrust this task to their personal assistant. The next day, Sophie starts putting things away with the robot. The girl interrupts Henry and gives him the book she gave to James. Sophie asks the robot to read one chapter a day so they can discuss the work afterward. Soon, James's car breaks down, and he asks Henry to fix it. Sophie is going to town and is instructed to buy a new detail. Henry asks the owner whether his love for the girl grows or fades over time. The robot also says that he has learned from his owner's relationships that love is linked to vulnerability. Henry himself is afraid of becoming unnecessary. The robot discusses with Sophie the book she gave him to read and drinks wine. Soon the weekend arrives and a long-awaited dinner. Henry quotes the book the girl gave him and says that he reads a chapter a day. This causes bewilderment and slight offense to James, but the other guests are delighted with the robot. One day, Sophie starts discussing literature with Henry while lying next to her boyfriend. The girl doesn't like the way James interprets the work, but the latter says with irritation that he has the right to such an opinion. They start talking about passion. Henry says that he understands its nature and could even imitate it, but the guy says with irritation that there is no need for that. During the night, Sophie is awakened by a strange noise. Going outside, the girl finds a naked Henry on the lawn. The robot says he dreamed he was human. Sophie leads him towards the house when James comes outside. Henry almost falls into his arms and begins to pass out. The next day, Julian arrives. The man explains that the dream glitch could have occurred if one of the owners had let the robot know that he was interested in dreams. Julian also asks not to make the robot too emotional, as this can make the malfunctions more frequent. James takes it out on his girlfriend, believing that she is the cause of the malfunction. Sophie parries the guy, saying that he too treats the robot as a human being. In the evening, James is taking a shower and suddenly sees Henry. He says he's uncomfortable, but it's inherent to humans. James compares the robot to an electric shaver and says he's only a very advanced device. At work, the guy learns that his plan to grow the company has failed. James finds a touching note from the girl and also admires the sofa she has managed to remake. He lights candles and suggests Sophie to make love. However, the girl says that she is not in the mood, after which she goes to bed. The next day, Sophie again talks to the robot about his dream. Henry gives the girl a massage and then suddenly starts kissing her. Sophie gives herself to the robot with all her passion, but then she wakes up. The girl lies to James that she doesn't remember what she dreamt. Left alone, Sophie does something in front of a specially opened door. The girl asks Henry if he has been observing her. Answering, the robot flirts lightly with Sophie, and she likes it. Such light flirting continues throughout the day. The guy goes to Julian and shares his suspicions. He thinks the robot is falling in love with his Sophie. The man clarifies that, in fact, Henry is only responding to the girl's desires. Julian suggests that James discuss the matter with Sophie. However, the guy decides otherwise. James talks to the robot and forbids him to read with Sophie. Having learned about it, the girl puts up a quarrel. Sophie packs her things and goes to the city for a couple of days. In the evening, the boy plays racquetball with Henry. After showering, James can't find his razor. Henry entered the room with no clothes on and offered to help. Shortly thereafter, the robot kisses James. In the morning, the guy doesn't realize if it was a dream or real. James arrives at work and learns that his project was a success after all. Henry, meanwhile, gives Sophie a massage and kisses her. The girl tearfully tells James about it. He beats the robot and breaks his station. In the morning, after talking to Henry, Sophie leaves him in Julian's care. The girl goes to James and has an honest conversation with him. It turns out that the guy also felt attracted to Henry by his impeccability. Suddenly, a phone call rings in the office. It turns out to be from Henry. The couple goes home and has a conversation with the robot. They then drive to Julian's, where FBI agents are working. It turns out that the robot men are actually humans. Together with the agents, the boyfriend and Sophie return home. The agents are attacked by Julian with a gun. The man tells them that he found rejected children and programmed them with education. Julian wants to destroy the guy and his girlfriend who learned a terrible secret. However, at that moment, he is attacked by Henry himself. The guy massacres the one who created and deceived him for many years. After that, Henry takes his own life. Before closing his eyes forever, the guy says that he is a man who knows how to feel and in whom the heart beats. 5 years later, James and Sophie have a son, whom they named Henry. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.